All over the world, women are undervalued and exploited. And while the fight for equality continues, female empowerment has improved significantly, but only relatively recently. The catalyst for that change might be down to one of the most important healthcare inventions in the 20th century. Here's how the pill gave women power. Over 100 years ago, as the women's suffrage movement forced voting rights in the US, a social activist was fighting for something we might take for granted today: a woman's control over her own body. Margaret Sanger, a nurse from New York, was imprisoned for opening a birth control clinic in 1916, what would then go on to become Planned Parenthood in America. At a time when anti-obscenity laws prevented doctors even discussing birth control with their patients, early forms of contraception were taboo and relatively ineffective. A woman could have many more children than she might want, be able to care for, or physically survive. Sanger's own mother died at the age of 49 after having 22 pregnancies. Following decades of campaigning, Sanger saw a federal ban on birth control lifted, but she continued in her quest to find something better, what she imagined as a magic pill. She was introduced to a scientist, Gregory Pincus, who'd had success preventing ovulation in rabbits by testing the hormone progesterone. With the financial backing of another women's rights campaigner, Catherine McCormick, and a fertility expert called John Rock, Pincus began developing a drug so groundbreaking it would simply become known as the pill. Its first iteration was called Enovid, made by G.D. Searle. The company applied to the FDA for approval, and to avoid licensing problems, the pill was labelled as being for disturbances of menstruation rather than birth control. On the 9th of May 1960, Enovid was made available to married American women. Within 2 years, 1.2 million women were using it. And it didn't take long for the pill to catch on around the world. Compared to other forms of contraception, the pill is discreet, easy to use, and much more effective, especially as the choice was now in women's hands, not men's. Since the introduction of the pill, the number of unwanted pregnancies dropped significantly, as did the number of infant and maternal deaths. An economic revolution was also in the making. Taking the pill meant women could delay when they had children, dedicate time to an education and a career without fear of accidental pregnancy or having to commit to a life of abstinence. More women started degrees and entered more male-dominated courses like medicine, law and dentistry that tended to have longer periods of study, a barrier to entry previously for women expected to marry and have children by their early 20s. By 1972, the pill became available to all US citizens, and the numbers studying such degrees rose rapidly. This in turn led to higher employment rates and better careers. The number of women in management and professional occupations also rose dramatically, from 19.9% in 1970 to 51% in 2011. The pill also affected those who weren't taking it. As more and more were empowered to focus on careers and delay starting families, the dynamics of marriage changed, with the average age of women tying the knot starting to get older. Margaret Sanger's relentless pursuit of improving women's sexual rights also led to unarguable economic benefits for the United States. It's estimated that for every dollar invested in family planning programs, federal and state governments save over $7 because of unintended pregnancies that were prevented. And it's unlocked a lot of earning power. In 1965, 26.2 million women were in the US labour force. By 2014, the number had risen to 73 million. Achieving or improving gender equality isn't as simple as just introducing a contraceptive drug. Despite earning more college degrees than men for the last 30 years, women still remain underrepresented at every level in corporate America. Fully closing the gender pay gap could increase total female earnings by $2 trillion across the OECD, so there's a long way to go and plenty more to fight for.